This episode of Amabookabooka was brought to you by Exclusive Books. Five-time author Daryl Bovey is South Africa's best columnist. Not only will Daryl move you, he'll also move your cheese. He wrote the best-selling I Moved Your Cheese in 2001 and followed that up the next year with The Naked Bachelor. He's a scuba diver and founding member of the invincible pub quiz team, the Hasselhoffs. But I digress. Which is the name of his third book, a collection of his columns. He has also written a novel for young readers, Super Zero, which was awarded the Sir Percy Fitzpatrick Prize for Fiction, and he was a finalist for the Caine Prize for African Writing in 2006. Daryl's latest book, One Midlife Crisis and a Speedo, was published by Zebra Press, an imprint of Random House, Penguin, and something else, in 2014, and is a lull-a-minute tale about his brush with middle age. Could you please read us an extract from your book?
I certainly could, and may I say, I've never heard the word lol pronounced out loud before. The first thing you notice about the Tim Noakes diet is how interesting it is to talk about. Actually, that's not true. The very first thing you notice is that it's not at all interesting to talk about. But that's only when you're not on the diet yourself. When you're the one living your life as a normal human being, peaceably eating as your forefathers did and their forefathers before them, you might have a reasonable tolerance for chit-chat about what other people are eating. You might even ask a polite question or two of your own. Oh, really? You might say. You're putting butter in your coffee and making toast out of halloumi cheese now? That's interesting. Or you might say, oh, so then you're not going to eat those chips. Do you mind if I... But after a while, it becomes irritating to have people constantly volunteering to tell you how much energy they have and how bloated they aren't. I never realized how bloated everyone was before they all started telling me that they aren't anymore. First, you roll your eyes. Then you start avoiding everyone who's recently lost a suspicious amount of weight. I feel like you're not being supportive, said a friend recently. I don't want to hear about the stupid Tim Noakes diet, I snapped. I have leukemia, she said. Oh, sorry. No, I'm kidding. It is the Tim Noakes diet. You wouldn't believe how much energy I have now. Shut up or I'll kill you. I'm still kidding. I just had the baby. Sheesh. But then you start it yourself and you realize that you were wrong. No, it's not boring to talk about what you're eating. In fact, it's fascinating because there's so much science in it, you see. The science is the best part. Ooh, boy, who knew I loved science so much? The other thing you realize is that this is the time of the cauliflower. The cauliflower is taking over the world. Where once there were fields of wheat and corn waving golden in the sun and rustling creepily by night, soon there'll be just the stubbly scalps of collie heads. There are cauliflower appreciation groups on Facebook and collie-loving websites. There's cauliflower porn. I haven't seen it myself, you understand. Those freaks aren't getting my credit card number. But sure, I'll admit it, I'm collie curious. For a while, the cauliflower was content to make a celebrity couple with broccoli. Broccoli. The tabloids called them. But then its star grew too bright and it had to go solo. Now you can't throw a stone without hitting a cauliflower doing something quirky and spectacular. Cauliflower pizza crust, cauliflower cake, collie burgers and popcorn and waffles. Cauliflowers adorably clipped to look like sheep. In time, we'll all look back and wonder how we couldn't see that Tim Noakes was in the pay of Big Collie the whole time.
So, Daryl, what book will you write for your next midlife crisis?
You only get one midlife crisis in this life, Jonathan. I'm sorry to tell you.
I'm already on my third midlife crisis.
Well, you always were an overachiever.
Do you remember the first book you ever read?
Yes. I had a book called Sammy Joins the Circus. It was about a seal, a very enthusiastic seal who for some reason chooses to run away from home and joins what appears to be a traveling carnival that seems to go from village to village across a nightmarish Eastern European dreamscape. And Sammy seemed to find his niche in the circus. The ball balancing skills, I imagine, that just got in the way at home, suddenly came into their own. And I read this obsessively as a small child.
Of the books you've written, what is your favorite?
Super Zero, which is the book for, I don't know what they call them now, not children, they're not allowed to be called children.
Young readers.
Anymore. Young readers, that's right. A book for young readers, which why I'm so proud of it is because that's a very excellent book. But beyond that, I I was at a bad time in my life, and I'd been fired from all of my writing and all of my columns. And I woke up the next morning and I didn't know what the future would hold. And I sat down at my then girlfriend's dining room table and started writing this book. And I wrote the first chapter and then had lunch. And I remember thinking, well, this isn't so bad. Life isn't so bad. It's not so disastrous. I still have lunch. and writing that book was a kind of an act of faith in myself and in the future. And so I think I'm most proud of that.
The character in Super Zero Z, who is he based on?
Z is a strikingly, I was about to say handsome, but it's not true, a strikingly odd-looking young fellow with peculiar hair who grows up in a small suburb in Durban, and with the strange presentiment that he might have secret powers that he hasn't yet discovered. And really, it's all me, especially the hair. The bad hair that this boy is cursed with is really the leitmotif that runs through my life. I often think my whole life would have been better, and in every way, if my hair had been different. You can have it.
In addition to writing books and for magazines and newspapers, you've written 3 feature films and have been the head writer on 4 drama series and 1 sitcom. What is the difference between writing for print and writing for film and TV?
A whole lot of money. For one thing, and the other thing is, what I enjoy about writing for film and television is more collaborative. That means you get a lot of people's opinions, which is annoying, but it also means you have you have other people to blame for when it goes wrong. So it's less stressful and anxious making. You can always look at the product on the screen and say, well, that wasn't my fault.
Yeah. So your comeback column for The Times was really well received. Were you surprised by the reaction?
I was surprised, actually. Well, I wasn't sure what reaction to expect. I was expecting a lot of sort of boos and hisses. So I spent quite a lot of time on that column, more than I would on most, just out of sheer anxiety and nerves, I think. But it always makes me sad when your first column is tremendously well received, and then afterwards it's just a kind of a falling away into the nothingness of print journalism.
I think that's print journalism that's falling away. And now we're going to give Daryl a sound effect Rorschach test. We're going to play him some sound effects, and he's going to come up with an association, a story, a memory of these sounds.
I thought you said you were going to give me a sound thrashing.
That's the 4th element of the show.
That half-naked man, all oiled up and sweaty at the beginning of the J. Arthur Rank. I'm going somewhere with this. It doesn't just remind me of Sweaty Naked Men. The guy who beats a gong at the beginning of those movies, those old British movies. That reminds me of an afternoon on a cruise ship where you're sitting having a cup of tea, and some woman who graduated from 2 years of some music conservatory is sadly plucking a harp in the background. An elephant dropping its hat off the top of a tall building. That's the sound I hear in my dreams after every line of dialogue. Wow! That reminds me a lot of the first time I had sex. That is the invisible soundtrack that plays when I walk down the street. That is the outcome of one of my occasional tweets.
Daryl Bristow-Bovey, an Amabookabooka legend.